It's Tad Hargrave from Marketing for Hippies, and I am here in Vancouver at my friend Joel Solomon's place, and I'm visited here online by Abby Kerr. And Abby, where are you right now? You're in Walla Walla?
I'm in Walla Walla, Washington.
Walla Walla, Washington. And that's in
Yeah.
southern Washington, yes?
Yep, southeast corner. It's wine country.
Nice.
Yeah.
And where were you from before that?
I was from the U.S. Midwest, back in Ohio.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, I'm also a prairie boy. This is good. From Alberta.
Yep.
So we're here talking about niching, and I've got the nichingforhippies.com program coming up you can check out. And Abby, I was wondering if you would be able to introduce yourself, who you are, and just what you do to give people some context about yourself.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, Tad. It's so good to meet you and to have a chance to have a chat for your people. So I'm Abby Kerr, and I'm the creative director of the Voice Bureau at abbykerr.com. And the Voice Bureau is a boutique branding, marketing, and copywriting agency. And we approach branding from the perspective of brand voice, which is about how micro businesses, solopreneurs, and very small businesses can use their innate natural brand voice, naturally occurring characteristics, and how they most powerfully and naturally communicate with people to really create an entire brand presence that will draw their most likely to buy readers and prospects to them.
I love it. I like the idea of voice. I think that actually really connects with niche.
Yes.
Before this call, I'd sent you some questions. You sent me some answers, and the first question was around this question of just what do you see as missing? And your answer was really interesting for me because you talked about what's often missing that should seem obvious but isn't, is this idea of expertise and actually having something you're really good at, having something you can really offer, and that people sometimes you get the new business owner who becomes a business coach who's now giving advice to a business owner saying, I'm going to help you grow your business, but they haven't actually maybe grown a business themselves
Right.
and had much experience in it. I'm just wondering if you can say more about the importance of that and why that matters.
Sure. I think that, we've seen this massive cultural change in the way businesses are birthed, I think, and get put together over the past 5 or 10 years. And I think there's, obviously there's a move away from just profit-driven businesses to businesses that are more connected to people's personalities or led by people's, highly idiosyncratic interests. And that makes for a really cool, diverse marketplace. But at the same time, I think that some people who maybe have, a pretty strong personality or a lot of personal charisma or natural empathy, they feel driven to get into business of some sort based on the power of their personality. And they take as models some of these bigger, higher profile personality brands that have been built, pretty strategically and systematically over a number of years. So what we're seeing today isn't really representative of the hard work and the focus on the niche that the brand creator started out with. And so what we're seeing is an influx of a lot of, new and aspiring business owners who are trying to create a brand on the power of their personality. And like you're saying, maybe they're trying to deliver some kind of a solution that they haven't themselves, implemented in their own lives or solving a problem that they themselves haven't arrived at the solution for.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. Yes, I agree. And when I'd asked what was you thought was most important in niching, one of the things you'd said was understanding the value that you can freshly, with integrity, into a particular, bring to a particular type of person who wants to buy. And I was actually interested in the word freshly there that you used.
Yeah, freshly. Yeah, so I think what I'm thinking about there with that word is really focusing in on what is your differentiator.
Right.
Sometimes that word is interchangeable with niche, or it can be looked at as part of a niche. So what sets you apart from all the other health coaches
Mm.
or all the other healers that are working like in a similar modality as you? Really figuring out what is it about your approach, what is it about how you deliver your work that really aligns best with a type of buyer's core needs.
Right.
And I think focusing in on that is where people can start to find that magic texture that gives their brand impact.
Totally. And it's interesting when you talk about sort of voice and perspective and point of view, that really has me, because I know you were saying one of the distractions is that people jump on the Me Too train and they just kind of do the follow a point of view that is out there, or a niche or something because everyone else is doing it. And so this idea of coming at it from a fresh place is really important. And when I think about the sort of point of view and voice, I feel like those are very connected in a lot of ways. And I feel like that's also, those things are connected to niche. And I'm wondering if you can draw where you see those lines connecting, because some people, it can be easy to look at niches like, well, it's just a target market, so I'm going to pick a target market and go after that. And yet I feel like this is another way of getting at the same issue. So
Yeah, it's all those nuances that I love to talk about. So what I see as point of view is, for me, that word is interchangeable with differentiator, or if you want to be more marketing jargony, USP, unique selling proposition. And I see your voice, especially when it's connected to, voice values, like those naturally occurring words or metaphors that we tend to visit over and over when we communicate with people. That's tied into something really deep and essential or elemental about who we are as individuals. And I feel like being able to understand your voice and really own what that is that makes your voice unique and gives it that particular texture, that always somehow segues with your point of view or your differentiator, and those things go together to find their way to that right person. Because I think for every brand out there that really works on having a voice that feels authentic and real and consistent, and really works on noticing what is it about the way that I deliver a solution that makes it truly different or particular, that brand is always going to find its way to a best, type of person. And of course, a type is just, a way to look at a bunch of individuals who share some of the same values.
So yeah, what is your sense about what a niche is? Because there's so many different ways of saying it. Some people would say, well, a niche is a group of people, it's a community of people. Another way to say it would be, no, it's the place that you occupy in the marketplace. That's your niche. What's your understanding of what a niche is even?
That niche is a tricky one for me. I love the way you write about niching, because I feel like that's a really fresh take on it. I think that my take on niche is, it is the intersection between your point of view, the way that you deliver something in a very particular way, and the person who is best aligned from like a core needs or a values perspective to want it the way that you deliver it. So I think it's really that intersection. And essentially, if you're focused on looking at it that way, you can become a niche of one. You and your business or your brand are a niche all unto yourself. That's what I want for my clients and for myself.
I like it. And so I'd also ask for 3 examples of niche businesses. So maybe I'll name them, and then you can share sort of what they do and why you think it's such a great example of a niche business that's not trying to reach everybody. So the first one is our mutual friend and colleague, Mark Silver from heartofbusiness.com.
Yeah. Heart of Business, to use Mark's own language, focuses on heart-centered people who are bringing something, of value to market in the shape of a business. And I love how he really unabashedly brings in spirituality, non-Western spirituality too, which is really neat. And it's like he's updated that for a very, very 21st century approach to doing business in an ever-changing economy. So it's that really interesting blend.
Nice. And then there's Tatine Candles.
Yes. Tatine Candles is a small artisanal candle studio based in Chicago. When I used to own a brick and mortar retail shop, it was one of my favorite vendors to sell. So it's all natural, phthalate-free, handcrafted, really beautiful, bespoke line of candles. And I think when I think in terms of her niche or what sets her apart, it's really about that extreme attention to detail, and it's a buyer who knows that they are going to end up paying more, but they want something that is totally pure. And then she's got this interesting rock and roll edge because she's a huge Led Zeppelin fan, and that sort of infuses everything that she creates. Really interesting juxtapositions there.
Nice. I like that. Rock and roll candles.
Yeah.
And the third one was thewildunknown.com.
The Wild Unknown. So this is a brand that's fairly new to me. She is a tarot artist, and she creates beautiful tarot decks and tarot-inspired products. And I think of her approach to tarot as very methodical in nature. It's really a line that's designed for a thinker type, somebody who's really into depth and nuance and layers. Even the illustration that she uses is extremely detailed. It's like she's done it with this fine pen or pencil, whatever she uses. But all of her, supporting materials that go along with the decks just really give a thinker a good sense of how to approach this sacred art and how to start to apply it to your own life. So, cool. Tarot for the thinker.
Nice. I like it.
Yes.
So the thing I'm most curious to ask you about is, so let's say somebody came to you and they're like, man, I get the niching is important. I keep hearing every course I go to, that's the first thing they say is, what's your niche? And I really don't know what it is for me. What's the process that you would take them through to hone and clarify that?
Well, the process that I use internally with my clients, I see it in terms of 4 steps. And we look at it as the value. So what are you offering? What is it? What is your business? Can you describe it succinctly and clearly? The vibe. So what's the style that this is being delivered in? And that connects to discovering your brand voice, which is already there. It's already wired in. Just being able to articulate what it is that you're naturally doing when you're connecting with people. So the value, the vibe, the who. So who is it for? Who would want this solution delivered in the way that you do it? And then finally, the view. And the view is maybe where we think more of your classic niche or your differentiator or your USP. So how are you putting your unique spin on that solution?
I love that. That's very similar to my thinking on it. Okay, so we've got the value, which is just like kind of what do you do, the basics.
Yep.
We've got the vibe, which is your unique voice, the sort of aesthetic, the kind
flavor.
The flavor, the tone that you're bringing to it.
Yes.
Then there's the who. Mm-hmm. So then it's asking, okay, this thing that we've crafted, we've got the basic thing and how we want to offer it. Who'd be interested in that?
Yep.
And then the last one was the view.
The view. Yeah, so
like
your unique point of view on it. Yeah, which is that the view, most of all, the view is kind of the marriage of the vibe and the who, the way that I teach it, because that kind of naturally leads into your view. It all interlinks back together, feedback loop.
And it's interesting because the view, the point of view, to me is like one of the most overlooked things in marketing. That, somebody might say, well, what I do, I'm a nutritionist, that's the value. The vibe, I don't know, I'm really aggressive, I'll shoot people to, and they're that kind of like badass vibe.
Yes.
The who, let's say they're like, I'm going to work with retired men, who've retired and let their body get flabby, and I'm going to, and you know, and retired corporate types or something. But it's interesting because then when we get to the point of view, it's amazing still, even within all that being very clear.
Yes.
You could actually have like 20 people doing those first three things.
Yes.
One might be raw vegan, one might be macrobiotic, one might be like for food groups, or another one is like, I just think you need to intuitively choose. You know, there's so many different points of view on that same thing, that same journey from like one island to another. There's so many different maps that people use and different routes that people take. And that map, that point of view, is often going to turn certain people off and attract other people.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah. And so essentially, I mean, you could argue that that eliminates competition to a large degree too, because the likelihood of someone sharing all four of those elements in common with you, fairly unlikely, or you're fairly unlikely to cross paths, you know, with the same right person profile, I guess I would say.
And you know what strikes me is interesting is that I feel like the way that niching tends to be done, or people see it, is the first and the third step. It's like, what do I do and who do I do it for?
Yes.
But what gets missed is like, well, what's the vibe you want to do and what's the point of view you want to bring? And that doesn't usually get mixed in. And so then what you get is this very, like, it sounds very specific, but also flat in a way. It's like, well, yeah, I do nutrition for retired men. And it's like, great.
Right. That doesn't tell us anything about the texture of the brand, the emotional experience, the intellectual impact. It doesn't tell us anything about your approach. It doesn't tell us about, you know, potential clients' experience. It doesn't even really tell us, you know, who are your peers, or what important conversation are you wanting to push off of out there, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's the real work of niching then, is to look closely at the vibe and the view, and really be able to articulate that for yourself, and then of course to your potential clients and customers through your website, because that's where that connection can happen.
Yes, I love it. That's so great. It's a perfect note to end on.
Yeah.
So now if people want to learn more about you and what you do, how do they learn more?
They can check out the Voice Bureau at abbykerr.com, ABBYKERR.com.
That's so awesome. And if you want to check out the Niching for Hippies, go to nichingforhippies.com. Abby, thank you so much for taking the time to join.
Tad, thank you. This was awesome.
Yay.